Hello, thank you for joining us. This is the Friendly Reminder Podcast. It's your weekly friendly reminder of what's going on around the world, in our lives, and everything in between. My name is Gus. Today is August the 20th, and as always, I have my two dearest friends here with me. Daniel, how are you today?
Good, Gus. I'm just going to take a big swig of beer and check my news alerts for Steve Bannon.
Oh dear, don't do that. Yeah.
It's a good day. Steve Bannon was arrested, by the post office.
By the
We'll
post
talk more
office,
about
by the
that.
postal
Yeah.
service. I think I must interject here. And joining us also is Sam. How are you today, Sam?
I'm doing really good. How are you guys?
Doing well. Like Daniel said, Steve Bannon brought to justice. I'm sure there's going to be no meddling whatsoever. He's going to be in
Steve
jail
Bannon
for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not
No
like
doubt.
they were trying to fire the U.S. Attorney of the SDNY before this, so,
No.
I'm sure it'll be good.
And justice for all. But yes, thank you both for joining me today. We have quite an episode teed up for you, for our dear listeners. Thank you to our listeners for joining us as well. So guys, it's that time. It's convention season. This week was and still is the Democratic National Convention. Started on Monday. It ends today, actually. Just to preface this, we are recording before the Joe Biden speech. It is August the 20th. He is scheduled to speak today in a couple of hours. So we don't know what's going to happen there. I imagine it'll be a fine speech, but probably no blockbuster type of speech. But, if we feel like there's anything that we need to cover, we'll cover it next week. But just want to let you know that we haven't seen it yet. So we have nothing to say about it. But obviously, this speech or this convention was a little different considering everything that's going on. It is an all virtual convention. It did not take place in whatever arena they were going to host it in Milwaukee. It is virtual, and there were a lot of questions surrounding that. Is it going to be a disaster? Like, is it going to be some sort of work from home situation that a lot of us have experienced over these past 6 months? That kind of awkwardness, and as it turns out, it's fine. It's been good. It's been a pretty well produced, tightly packaged convention.
Infomercial is, I think, all conventions are to a certain extent an infomercial for the party, but I think this one was definitely a little taking that concept to the next level. Not that I'm saying that it's bad. I'm just saying it's funny that people are watching it. Leftists on Twitter are watching it and going like, "Oh my God, what everything is terrible." And it's like, well, I understand that to a certain extent. They are having a lot of Republicans speak and trying to appeal to crossover voters, but for the most part, I would say that's okay. The question really for those people is Biden going to govern like that? I'm a little concerned that he is, but I don't think, convention is sort of neither here nor there on that point. So
yeah, I don't even think convention is so much to set up, at least in the past, and I think this is no different. That doesn't even really set up an ideology or like a plan to
not
cover.
A lot of policy. It's more just like, here's the candidate, and here,
And I think
it does talk about the issues, but it doesn't get into like policy at all.
Yeah, I think it's more like here's this person's biography, their background, their story. This is their appeal to the American people, and it's been a lot of that. I think there's been some solid speeches. Obviously,
I watched Obama's speech today. I thought it was quite good, although it was kind of pretty depressing and kind of scary.
Yeah, I mean, it was literally a former president saying like, "Hey, you guys like democracy? Well, I have bad news. It might not last for very long unless you do something about it," which was pretty much his message. I thought it was a great speech. Obviously Michelle Obama also delivered probably the highlight of her night. Most definitely the highlight of her night, and one of the better speeches in this convention. Elizabeth Warren, even Gabby Giffords gave her longest speech since she was very unfortunately shot in the head. She recovered, and I thought it
John
was
Kasich talked about I don't actually know what he talked about. I didn't watch his speech. Did you watch it?
No, actually,
No.
I did not.
Oh, okay. I thought it would
doesn't
be funny if they played Kasich and Bernie at the same time and just had them yell over each other. I thought that would have been funny, but
together. That's a good
Yeah.
buddy cop comedy
Yeah.
in the making.
Oh,
Yeah.
and the media freaked out because AOC. Do you want
Yeah.
to explain the straw poll thing? Because I think a lot of people were like, AOC, she's trying to get Bernie in there somehow. It was
Yeah, I
pretty
mean
funny.
it's
Even
it's
people who should know how this shit works were like, what? AOC nominated
Yeah.
Bernie Sanders.
which is a common gesture that's always done, where it's the runner-up or anybody that's ran previously for president in their party gets nominated by a surrogate. It's a procedural thing. It's obviously just done to unite the party and to show a kind gesture to the supporters of a well beloved candidate. And yes, immediately I don't know if this was on purpose or not. It was just out of ignorance, but they tried to make this seem like very similar to the Bernie walkout that happened in 2016, but also the Ted Cruz moment, vote for your conscience type of thing.
Yeah.
Which it was not that.
Yeah.
She was just following through a procedural.
They did it in 2016, didn't they? Didn't Bernie's son nominate him or something like that? It was something like that.
Yeah, I forget, but yeah, they do it in every convention. It's a common thing, and NBC News just went out there and said like, "Oh, AOC did not endorse Joe Biden and endorse Bernie Sanders," and tried to make it a thing, which she rightfully called them out for it. But yeah,
but not. I mean, the damage was done. They were like, "Oh, the party's falling apart." That was the narrative, right? That there was this giant split in the party, and it was just kind of funny because this, even more so than most years, was a very like controlled sort of environment.
Yeah,
there couldn't be like a walkout or anything like that because there's nobody to walk out.
Yeah, most of it is pre-recorded. Some of it is live, but most of it is pre-recorded. No, it was they were trying to find a moment, but it was clearly not that. And this whole convention has been not that. It's been a very solid, smooth, all things considered, well-produced convention. I don't know.
I mean, a little awkward because it's people just sitting there staring at you and talking. But I mean, honestly, I've not tuned in for a great amount of it, but the amount that I've tuned in, there were some transitions, and honestly, the awkwardness was gone within 30 seconds, and I was just watching, an infomercial for the Democratic Party.
And you may be touching upon this a little bit, Daniel, but like awkwardness is no stranger to these type of conventions, virtual or not virtual. They're all hell of awkward all the time. So this has honestly felt less awkward to me. Maybe I'm just used to
conventions.
Maybe I'm just used to the virtual environment too, but it's been fine. I don't know if Sam I don't know if you've had time to watch any of it, but anything that stood out to you?
No, I haven't seen any of it actually.
That's okay.
Great.
That's you're the normal one. Normal people don't watch conventions, which
I watched the 2016 one, but this one I just felt like, it's a thing.
Yeah,
Biden
it's a bit of an candidate. It's a bit of an
Yeah, it was like Biden won the primary like really early on, and it was like,
it's almost like because there was a slightly less drama going into it, nobody was like, people were just like,
I don't think you're alone, Sam. I bet. And there's been talk about the ratings and whatnot, but a lot of it is like TV ratings, which they're down, but obviously they're going to go down because most people watch it online anyways if they are watching it. But there's not a lot to write home about, and I did like the roll call. I thought that was cool. But
that was cool. I actually I heard about it and I watched a video of it afterwards, and I was like, that was pretty cool because it showed all the Democrats in their individual states, and it kind of, it was kind of nice. It was like, there are Democrats everywhere in every state,
As it turns out.
They exist in Texas for sure.
Maybe not Wyoming.
Well, I thought it was fake. Trump's been saying it's fake news for so long that it's nice to get some confirmation.
But, we mentioned it. We mentioned awkwardness in past conventions. And Daniel, you were telling me that you were planning something here for us that you wanted to cover.
I
What's
am.
going on?
I am, Gus. I made a list, and we're gonna try doing sound effects. It's our first time, so bear with us if it's bad. But I did a list, the top 5 more awkward convention moments in recent history. There's a lot of qualifications, and I technically did this before the actual DNC convention. So, but I don't think there's anything more awkward. But anyway, are you guys ready for the list?
Yeah, you started number 5?
Yes, that's how these lists typically go. Number 5 was the 1996 DNC, where the Clintons and other Democrats decided to, get a little multi-ethnic with it, and they really did think this was like, oh, this will appeal to Hispanic voters, and they danced to the Macarena in the most incredibly awkward way possible. And there's not really a clip here, unfortunately, but I'll play a little bit of the song. Yeah, does that bring you back?
Yeah.
Anyway, I recommend you watch
that.
the video because it is very disturbing. Most of the people aren't even doing the Macarena; they're just sort of bobbing up and down. Hillary Clinton
Hillary wasn't. She was just clapping.
She's just clapping and looking very awkwardly into the camera. It is a creepy. It is a creepy video, and I highly recommend that you watch it and let it give you some nightmares.
Yeah.
But that is number 5 of the most awkward moments, or in recent history, or of time.
Of all time.
Of all time
years.
in recent history. All right. You guys ready for number 4? This goes all the way back to 2012, where the Republican Party had a little bit of a mystery, guys. And it really was a mystery. They didn't announce who it would be. And it was a little before Mitt Romney. I don't think he introduced Mitt Romney, but it was a little before. And they brought up Clint Eastwood to talk. And I think that, Clint Eastwood, he's a talented director. But I think he was either off his meds or they just threw him on stage, and he was like, I can just wing it and it'll be fine. But he decided to do this thing where he brought a chair out there, and I'm sure he thought it was very clever. And he pretended Obama, who Romney was running against, was sitting in the chair. And then he just sort of proceeded to babble to great rounds of applause and standing ovations. I have a clip. I edited out a lot of the really dull stuff, but to be honest, it's mostly really dull stuff left. But let me play some of it.
And I just was going to ask him a couple questions, but I remember. So, Mr. President, how do you handle promises that you made when you were running for election? And how do you handle it?
You guys can say mercy.
I mean, what do you say to people?
It's pretty parental.
Do you just, I know people are wondering.
Like
you don't have it. Okay. Well, I know even some of the people in your own party were very disappointed.
It's kind of sad because you've seen him get lost a few times, and then he just pretends that the fake Obama is
closing Gitmo. Why close it?
I'm not going to shut
so
up.
Much money on it. I thought maybe it's an excuse. What do you mean, shut up?
He gets lost and he's just like, "Oh, Obama's telling me to go suck a dick."
Now we're moving onward, and I know I know you were against the war in Iraq, and that's okay.
Here's where he pretends.
But you thought the war in Afghanistan was okay. You thought that was something that was worth doing. We didn't check with the Russians to see how they did there for the 10 years, but it
rascally Obama starting the Afghanistan war.
It was it's something to be thought about. I think that
I agree
that when we get to maybe I think you mentioned something about having a target date for bringing everybody home.
So
it's sort of like half-remembered talking points, and it is interesting foreshadowing for the Republican Party.
Yeah.
I mean, it was
sad old men babbling fragments of conservative talking points. Better off dead.
Interesting
People
that
cheering for just the dumbest things in the world.
he's criticizing Obama for being for the war in Afghanistan in a Republican convention. Like
exactly. Yeah. All right, that was number 3 of the most awkward convention moments, or more awkward than the 2020 DNC convention. Okay, number 3 I think is going to be a little painful for us. There's no clip to go along with it, but it is. I guess it's really the walkout, the Sanders supporters walkout of the DNC. That happened in 2016. It's something, the whole 2016 convention, I've kind of erased from my memory, but I do remember being very stressed out during it because the WikiLeaks emails the DNC emails had just dumped, and there was a lot of divisiveness. And that, either exacerbated or led to this massive walkout when Hillary, there was booing throughout from Sanders supporters, and then when Hillary got the nomination, I think it was about 100 supporters walked out, and it was incredibly awkward. It happened on live TV, and it was crazy.
You know where that can never happen? A virtual convention.
A virtual convention. They tried to make it happen though. They were like, AOC's walking out. All right, number 2. This is the 2015 convention and Sarah Palin's speech.
Well, 2008, right? Convention?
Oh shit! I did that again. Yeah, as we were talking about it, I said 2015 also, and I'll explain why I said 2015. Yes, it's the 2008 convention. Sarah Palin's speech, where she talks about who she is, introduces herself to America, says the famous pit bull with lipstick speech line. What's the difference between a hockey mom and a pit bull?
Yeah, or pit bull,
the vagina. I'm gonna get canceled. All right. I actually did not pull a clip of this dumb speech because I started to listen to it and it was dull as dog shit. Really dull as dog shit. It was mostly about Sarah Palin's family and stuff.
Widely praised though.
Yeah, I was gonna go into. It was widely praised, and the reason I said it 2015 is because I actually pulled up a Chris Cillizza article in the Washington Post praising Palin 7 years after she gave the speech, saying that Sarah Palin gave the best speech of her career. That's why I referenced 2015. But I'm going to read a little bit of the praise that she got for the speech. So here, let me read from this article. Vice presidential nominee Sarah Palin won high marks in the U.S. press for her performance at the Republican convention. The Wall Street Journal said that they may have found their own Margaret Thatcher, while the New York Post hailed Palin as a fighter and urged her, "You go, girl." Under the headline, "She shoots, she scores," the Washington Post said Wednesday's speech by John McCain's surprise vice presidential pick was a political bullseye. If Republicans win the presidential election in November, it may well be said that they won it last night. God, some of these. Let's see if there's anything. Yeah, she proved herself in the great arena. Nobody could watch that speech and still consider a joke, no matter how flimsy her credentials and qualifications are. That's a hell of a quote, man. That's a hell of a quote. Yeah, and finally, 20 years after this was John Funn. This is an op-ed, so it's not exactly a straight news headline, but 20 years after Ronald Reagan left the office, Republicans who long missed him may have found a future Margaret Thatcher. These were the headlines after Sarah Palin gave that speech.
Yeah.
I thought people hated Margaret Thatcher.
Well, not conservatives.
No, conservatives love Margaret Thatcher. Yeah. Margaret Thatcher was the female Ronald Reagan.
And I should know that, one, yeah, she did get praised, but also this helped John McCain in the polls a lot, right after the convention, which kind of goes to show the value of a convention bump. Yeah, and maybe we should kind of be aware of that in these next couple of weeks if it helps one candidate over the other. They usually don't tend to last.
Yep, I do have a quick clip, and it is, hold on 1 second. Here it is.
Formerly known as the Bear. Y'all
Can you hear
make some noise for Governor Sarah Palin.
Okay, good.
Sounds like they're introducing me to a frat party.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, it was weird when she started doing this, but they seemed okay with it. Anyway, sorry, that's from The Masked Singer. That was actually from March. That was actually the same day the WHO declared a global emergency.
It was widely regarded as the best moment of her career, Sarah Palin's career.
Yeah. Anyway, so I'm on number 1 now. The number 1 most awkward convention moment of recent history is, and then I cheated. I said it was Donald Trump's entire 2016 convention because it was a gigantic fucking shit show, and there's so much shit that happened at it. This was, I think the Trump presidency has been so awful. A lot of us have erased memories of the Trump campaign. But at this point, sort of real deal Republicans were still kind of iffy on him. So a lot of the people who were coming to speak were just his dumb friends, like some random businesses that maybe they owed him money or he owed them money. A collection of every person that was currently running a pyramid scheme spoke. A bunch of D-list celebrities. Melania Trump plagiarized Michelle Obama's speech when she spoke. And they gave a bunch of awesome excuses like, let's see, Paul Manafort said it was crazy and blamed Hillary Clinton. Katrina Pearson said Melania wanted to communicate to Americans in words they had heard before. Sean Spicer.
Literally, word for word.
Sean Spicer. I haven't had that name in a long time.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Actually, I don't even know what he said. Anyway, so the rest of the friggin' awful convention, this nightmare-inducing convention, you had former federal judges, sitting Republican lawmakers, future NSA, future attorney generals chanting "Lock her up," including
Michael Flynn.
Michael Flynn leading a chant of "Lock her up," and they did lock him up, and then Trump pardoned him.
Yeah.
Wait, has Trump pardoned him? No. I think they just backed off the investigation. He's probably going to pardon him though. Let's
why
see.
wouldn't he?
There was a lot of fake pro-LGBT stuff, even though Trump has been dismantling LGBT rights across the board. Oh, and just as a little treat, there was just a little bit of Russian collusion, just a little bit at the. They colluded with some high-level Russian officials who were there on the platform, I believe, on the planks of the platform. There was Trump's hour-and-a-half long-ass speech, which again was, although it was controversial, it was praised a lot as, he's turning a new leaf. He's getting the tone right and everything. Was
that when he used a teleprompter?
He did use a teleprompter, yeah. Although he did go off of it a few times. But, it was a speech mainly about how crime was so bad in America and how everybody was dying, which was a giant fat lie at that point, because at that time crime was at historic lows. It had started to tick up in the last year, but if you look at the entire last 30 years of America, crime had been plummeting. So obviously it was a lie. Of course, now crime is still ticking up, and a lot of the suggestions are that it's Trump's fault. But I think I have a clip of his speech here, but if you it's an interesting part of his speech. I want to point out you should pay close attention to the last couple of lines of this clip. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
Nobody knows the system better than me.
It's a famous line from the speech.
Which is why I alone can fix it. I have a message for all of you. The crime and violence that today afflicts our nation will soon, and I mean very soon, come to an end.
God, remember when Donald Trump promised to end crime?
Yeah.
Good times.
Beginning on January 20th of 2017, safety will be restored.
I feel safe.
We all feel
The most
safe,
basic duty of government is to defend the lives of its own citizens. Any government that fails to do so is a government unworthy to lead.
So yeah, anyway, that's.
You know what, Donald Trump, I agree.
Yes.
Yeah, me too. And just like always, you put a foot in his mouth, and then later if anyone questions him about it, and he's like, I didn't say that. I would never say that.
Well, he
it's like
meant defend from like terrorists, not stuff that's.
No,
He
like
never said
pathogen.
that. If he wanted to say that, then he should have.
Yeah, but that's what he meant. He's not talking about universal health care. He's talking about shooting people.
He's talking about black people is what he's.
I don't know if he could be talking about Muslims too. I don't
Yeah,
wanna
true.
judge him too harshly. Anyway, so that was the top 5 most awkward moments in modern history from conventions.
Yeah, and it's
Of all
funny that
time.
we ended with Donald Trump because he is going to speak next week, and I'm willing to bet money. Not literally, I'm not a bettor, but I am very certain you're going to hear a lot of the same thing, as if 4 years did not just happen. And he's going to say that only he can stop crime. He's the law and order president. He's going to say that if you elect Joe Biden, every city is going to be like Portland or Minneapolis, as if those cities somehow were firebombed or something and wiped out of existence. Even though A, that did not happen, but B, he's president. He's the he's a freaking president right now. It's happening under his watch. If it were to be so terrible, so I'm expecting that speech 2.0 mixed with the Mount Rushmore speech that we covered a couple of episodes back. It doesn't take a genius to figure out what he's going to say.
What do you think he's going to say about COVID? I feel like
He's not.
Yeah,
You
he's
think he's
probably
gonna
not
say
going to say
anything?
anything about it.
It's going to be like the Mount Rushmore speech. He might give thanks to the healthcare workers and then just like move
Thanks
on.
to the first responders who are working so hard to kill the virus.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the thing that he's going to talk about Portland and Minneapolis, like they just got firebombed, and the thing that is actually killing 1,000 Americans a day is going to get ignored. That's 100% what's going to happen.
And of course, it's going to be a real convention because there's no real virus right now.
Is it a real convention? Or is it
No,
an
I
online
think they backed off. It is going to be virtual.
okay.
I think so. I mean, you never know. You shouldn't put it past them. So, we'll look forward to that moment next week.
I'll definitely watch that one.
Great. But thank you, Daniel. That was a nice throwback through memories I've long forgotten. Some of them for the best. But we want to move on to our next topic. We want to go into, sadly, something a little bit more serious, because something that did happen this week that did get lost in the convention talk was the very recent Senate Intelligence Committee report that came out regarding the Russia investigation, which, Daniel, I'm going to let you kind of cover the details because I think you have a better grasp on it than I do. But from what I can gather here, basically confirming that the Trump campaign was approached by foreign entities to give assistance for the election during the election, and not only that, but they reciprocated on that and actually sought out assistance from foreign entities. Is that more or less correct from what you know?
It is correct, and it's 1,000 pages, so I have not finished reading it yet. Unfortunately, but it was bipartisan, which is pretty remarkable considering it, basically confirmed the basics of Mueller's report, but added, went a little further. It didn't say that the Trump administration or anybody in the Trump administration, other than the people who had been charged by Mueller, committed a crime as to conspiring with the Russian government. But it did say, well, like you said, the Russian government undertook an extensive campaign to try to influence and sabotage the 2016 election and to help Trump win. And Trump's campaign was open to help from Russian intelligence. In particular, it had more about Paul Manafort working very closely with a member of Russian intelligence, his longtime business associate, Konstantin Kilimnik. Let me just preface a little before I get deep into the Russia hole. It can get a little dense, so if I just start babbling, you can just lower my volume and move on to the next topic. But there's a lot of stuff here, and I don't want to hit too much of it. But it is quite remarkable. I mean, just imagine for a second that you found out that Obama's campaign manager was working with Axelrod, right? Was working with Iranian intelligence. Like you couldn't even imagine. Like both of you guys started smiling because it sounds so absurd, but that's exactly what happened here. Not only that, they tied Kilimnik to the actual stealing of emails and dumping them in order to influence the election, which I don't think that Mueller had done previously. They actually said Kilimnik was involved as he worked with Manafort, and Manafort was passing him information. Now, Manafort would not answer a single question about this, and he even got a harsher sentence because he wouldn't talk about it. Because people who talk about Russian intelligence frequently end up getting poisoned or beat to death, including in America. That has happened. So I understand why he would not wanna maybe go after Mr. Kilimnik. But
so I do want to just step in real quick because I think you mentioned something, and we do the Obama comparison, like what if Obama did this, but I'm thinking like literally any other presidency and any other administration. If this kind of story had come out, that the current administration during an election, during a campaign, sought assistance from a foreign force entity, just a foreign source, it would be just the biggest story of our generation. I mean, it would be Watergate 2.0. And now, after all of this, and this was something that we followed pretty much from the start of the Trump administration, their relationship with Russia. It's been a whole back and forth. We had the Mueller report, we had the congressional hearings, and now it's just a pretty much confirmation that yes, it's true, it happened, and it's a thought. According to the media, like it's not covered. It's being drowned out by this convention, even though it's a bipartisan report that pretty much confirms what should be a massive, once in a lifetime type of scandal, right?
I mean, just even specific parts of it. Like they finally confirmed. Well, I don't know if "finally" is the right word, but they confirmed that Roger Stone coordinated with WikiLeaks, but they also confirmed that Trump coordinated with Roger Stone. I mean, Trump and the campaign coordinated directly with Roger Stone in coordinating with WikiLeaks to dump these documents. Like, that's a pretty substantial thing. And not only that, it would mean that Trump perjured himself, because when he answered Mueller's questions, he said he had never discussed WikiLeaks with Roger Stone, which would be a lie if he was coordinating on the WikiLeaks drops. They found out that the day the Access Hollywood tape dropped, Roger Stone, the Trump campaign heard about the tape an hour before its release, and they reached out to Roger Stone. Roger Stone reached out to Corsi to get Assange to, quote, drop the Podesta emails immediately, and WikiLeaks did so 30 minutes after the tape was published. Like, it's just, I mean, it's crazy.
I mean, the one thing that I think Trump is good at, or maybe Trump is just good at, is that he has many disasters at once. And I mean, with COVID going on, no one's going to care about. Well, at least they should care, but I mean, no one's really going to care about.
No, I mean, we almost weren't going to even talk about it. It's such a like. There's so much shit that doesn't get covered because there is so much shit. Like we're not going to touch on too much of Steve Bannon, even though it's another series of crimes of the Trump administration has committed.
Yeah, and I mean that's kind of like in this one thing that we've just covered in like the last 5 minutes. We mentioned Michael Flynn, we mentioned Roger Stone, we mentioned Manafort, all of them that obviously ran into issues with the law. And then just today, as you mentioned, Daniel, Steve Bannon was arrested by Postal Service officers, no less. He was arrested in his multi-million-dollar yacht because of possible money laundering and
fraud
regarding that private built the wall in New Mexico thing. Not far from too far from where I am actually, but
was he the one that was fired while on the toilet?
No, I think that was Tillerson.
Oh.
Although Bannon was probably on the toilet, because if you look at Bannon, he looks like a guy who spends a lot of time on the toilet.
So the build the wall thing, just to cover, that's like they asked people to donate, so a private entity could build the wall here or something like that, and it's
Just
people,
obviously
a
border
dumb
walls are built by
GoFundMe.
private entities all the time.
like just the biggest grifter in the world. And today he was arrested, and again, this is just a trail, like a murderer's row of grifters and criminals, all associated with the Trump administration, and somehow we've still normalized it every single day.
Well, it's the Republicans that let it slide. I mean, the people who signed the fucking bipartisan Senate report came out and were misrepresenting what was in it in order to downplay how bad it was for Donald Trump. Like Marco Rubio came out and said, was he one of the ones that signed the? Well, I don't remember.
Yeah, he's part of the committee.
The Gang of Eight, right?
Yeah.
And he came out and I forget what he said, but he was like, "Yep, no big deal, no collusion, it's all good in the hood."
He said that the concern was how the FBI was run during the Obama administration, or something like that. It always just goes back to blaming Obama with these idiots. But yeah, I mean, I'm still kind of just in awe. I think you're right, Sam. I think a lot of it is just because Trump is just like a vacuum of chaos. And it's been 4 years of chaos, and right now we're in the biggest shitstorm of them all. This is like his magnum opus of shitstorms. What's going on right now with COVID and the racial tensions in the streets, and this comes out, and it gets some headlines, and then sadly it looks like we're just going to move on, which is what we're going to do right now. We're just going to move on.
I knew you were going to do that. I knew you were going to do that.
Well, unfortunately, we have to. We do have to cover other topics.
Dude, I have hours of rants about Russia, and I'm just kidding.
I mean, if there's something else you want to add on to, Daniel, or the Bannon thing, quite frankly, I'm all ears. We got time.
I'd rather move on to talk about Laura Loomer.
We'd all rather move on.
QAnon. I'd rather move on to the real, true conspiracy theories like QAnon.
Yeah, what's really going on in the world. So our next topic is not one big topic. It's kind of a menagerie of things that we just want to hit on real quick. One of them we did just hit on, which is just today, Steve Bannon was arrested by U.S. Postal Service officers. Which I saw a tweet out saying that in my head I imagined them like with the same U.S. Postal Service uniform as
the
a mail
shorts
carrier.
and the little bag.
But they just have a gun.
No, dude, they just have a letter opener to his neck. They're just like,
don't mess with them. So yeah, that happened today. Another thing we wanted to cover real quick, because we mentioned this last week, was what's going on with the Postal Service, with the U.S. Postal Service. The Postmaster General did make a statement and said that they were stopping any scheduled changes that they were going to go through before the election, because they don't even want to give according to him, a semblance of that they're doing this to interfere with the election in any way. Which, hey, that comes out. It sounds like good news, right? It sounds like maybe the outcry was beneficial and actually helped out, but there's really been questions as to what type of actions he's actually going to take, because one of the things that kind of seems to be a sure thing is that he's not rolling back anything that he's already, or that the any changes that the Postal Service has already implemented, including the decommission and basically destruction or disconnection of sorting machines. That already happened before he made that statement. And in fact, there were reports showing that they were continuing to happen.
I was going to say, do we even believe this schmuck? I mean, he's a member of the Trump administration. He's bright red. He looks like he's constantly wet. I don't believe I don't believe this dude. He's like, yeah, we're stopping. The Trump administration, of course they're going to say we're stopping, and then they're just going to keep fucking doing it because that's what they do to the fucking Trump administration.
Yeah,
Sorry,
that's the main thing. It's like, do we just call bullshit on this? Because it's one, the most recent reports that we got is that nothing's really changing, and that's just been in a couple of days. Do we really think there's going to be any kind of reversal, or is this just making a statement, making people calm down and feel like they're going to be safe, and then just going about their business as they normally would have?
I mean, that's what Trump does. Like we just talked about like a few minutes ago.
The only thing that might gum it up is the actual postal service kind of rebelling against it a little bit. But I mean, yeah, I would not. This guy can say, "Oh, we're not going to make any changes before the election," but I'm frankly pretty skeptical. Yeah. I would like some sort of verification that nothing is really going on because I don't trust him.
I mean, the only thing I can do as a citizen is if I were to be asked, I would say take the same precautions that you were taking before before he made the statement. If you were planning to vote early, obviously be safe about it, but that's still what I would recommend. That's vote early, vote. It's if your state allows it, or if not, maybe use a Dropbox. I think we're all getting an Amber Alert right now, but use a Dropbox, vote early. Still, don't take this for granted, and certainly don't take anybody in the Trump's administration's word for it. But beyond that, again, just a series of stories that we wanted to cover. Another thing that we wanted to cover is just what the hell is going on with the Republican primary right now. I guess it shouldn't be a surprise, but there's just been a couple of insane lunatics that have won their nomination to the Republican nomination to run for Congress in the fall. One of them is Laura Loomer, who just won just a couple of days ago. Apparently, she's pretty much a Nazi. Do I get that correct? Like unabashed, like racist. I mean, Islamophobe.
I'm basing, Islamophobe. She's not tweeting out swastikas and things like that, but she's like. She called Islamic cancer. She said Muslims shouldn't be allowed to hold public office. She responded to tweets about how, when refugees were dying, she said, great, more people need, I forget exactly what she said, but she said along the lines of,
who will she be facing in the actual election?
So she's probably not going to win.
Let's hope not.
Yeah, but she did get called out and retweeted by Trump, so who knows? She's also said Muslims are savages, Jews control the banks and the media. She's been banned from Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Medium, GoFundMe, Venmo, MGM Resorts, PayPal, Lyft, Uber Eats, and the 2019 Conservative Political Action Conference.
Wow.
She's been banned from a lot. Yeah, I think she got banned from the car Lyft services because a Muslim picked her up, and she was like, "Why are Muslims picking me up?" I mean, she is insane. She's even more insane than the normal run of the mill insane. It's like there's QAnon insane, and then there's Laura Loomer, who's even somehow worse than QAnon insane. It's like the QAnon lady would probably be like, well, she didn't say this, but she'd probably think Laura Loomer is kind of nuts. Because Laura Loomer is kind of nuts. And there is a video of Laura Loomer trying to hit on a dude drunk, talking about how he looks Aryan and she loves that. And don't worry, she looks Aryan too, and she's got an Ashkenazi Jewish mind, so that makes up for it. And I mean, who the fuck goes into like, yeah, man, like my skull shape, I'm horny. Let's talk about skull shapes.
That's like her.
Yeah. It's just what in the fuck is wrong with the Republican Party? That's all I have to say about that. But
in regards to Laura Loomer, she won the primary in the Florida's 21st congressional district. That is a safe Democratic district. from what I can see here, it's represented by a Democrat named Lois Frankel, who is probably going to win. So it's a safe Democratic district. She's probably not going to go to Congress. You never know, but that's most likely the case. Regarding as you mentioned, Daniel, the QAnon lady, that's a different story. She is in a safe Republican district. Her name is Marjorie Taylor Greene. She is an open QAnon supporter. Do we want to mention what QAnon is, or should we just assume our audience knows a little bit about it?
Probably explain it just a little bit. I don't know if you wanted me to touch on it a little bit. Okay, so QAnon, it's a conspiracy that started a little while ago, and a guy showed up on 4chan and basically said he was like in the Trump administration and he was going to give all this secret information about how Trump was secretly, fighting the deep state and fighting the secret group of satanic pedophiles who secretly runs our world. Normal stuff. He wrote that on 4chan. People, are idiots and thought, this is obviously real stuff. And, he'd write in the most cryptic way possible. And of course, it's, not real, because he said, Hillary Clinton will be arrested in 2017, and she hasn't been arrested. He said numerous times that the sort of Democratic pedophile satanic cabal that secretly runs the world, Trump is out there fighting it sort of underground. And this is becoming more and more mainstream. Their QAnon's famous phrase is "the storm is coming," and the storm would be like a giant, I guess, all the pedophiles would be arrested on the same day, and that's the storm, is when Trump finally arrests all the pedophiles. But the Texas GOP suddenly made their official motto something about storms, and maybe they don't believe in QAnon, but I think it's a purposeful act to sort of recruit these people, because they, if you can get people on an issue that is totally illusory, like, fighting underground satanic pedophile clubs that secretly rule the world, then you really don't need to get them on anything else. Because who's going to vote? Who's going to be like, well, I could vote against this. I could vote for the satanic pedophile club, or I could vote for the guys trying to fight it. I don't know. It's tough. It's a tough year. Yeah. So that's QAnon.
Yeah.
In a nutshell.
And just today, I think it was today or yesterday, the President Trump was asked essentially what he feels about these supporters, and he's said, quote, "They like me," which of course he's going to say that first. It's about it, whether it's
it's always about him.
Yeah, but says they like me and they love the country. And when asked about, well, they believe that you're secretly saving the world from this cult of pedophiles and cannibals. Are you behind that? And then he responded by saying, "Is that supposed to be a bad thing? We are actually. We are saving the world."
Yeah,
as the President of the United States, basically,
of course,
approving of this these crazy conspiracy theories. So here we are. And I do want to say, one thing I've kind of noticed, at least in my little Twitter world, is how we're kind of playing this both sides again between when we're talking about these primaries. I've seen media figures talk about how basically building somehow an equivalency between Ilhan Omar winning her primary and these crazy QAnon conspiracy theorists and a literal, not a very open racist, pretty much Nazi candidate. And you know what? Honestly, I've had my differences with Ilhan Omar. She said some things so that I haven't been on board 100%. But come on, there is absolutely no equivalency between somebody who is concerned about Palestinian rights and may have some grievances regarding the Israeli government, to literally a crazy QAnon conspiracy theorist and racist and Nazis. And
Laura Loomer alleged for a while that Ilhan Omar was trying to kill her. That's how crazy this fucking shit is. She literally said that Ilhan Omar had hired like Muslim men to hunt her down, because that's
nuts.
Yeah.
It's nuts, and I they're not going to be. But I really wish members in our media would be a little bit more responsible, because I know you're desperate to call both sides and to make it sound like, well, we're all going into extreme directions, but it's not the same. It's not remotely the same. You need to, this bullshit needs to be called out the way it should be called out, and that there shouldn't be room in any major political party in the United States for people like what's her name, Laura Loomer, or Marjorie Taylor Greene. That's all.
The Republicans can't afford to alienate the crazy because
They're the
they
crazy.
need the votes. They need the votes. That's so they're not, And I read a New York Times article that was like, yeah, Republicans are secretly so upset about this. And either you're out there, stop this shit, or you're passively contributing to it.
Yeah. So can you hear me, Conrad?
Yeah,
I
you
can't
cut out a
hear.
lot.
Sorry, we'll cut that out.
Sorry.
I just said your name, but
Okay.
So yeah, that's pretty much these topics that we wanted to cover here. And we're going to move on to something a little bit more lighthearted. Sam, you've been a little quiet today, but luckily you've let me know that you've been indulging in a new anime that you wanted to share with us today.
Indulging.
Yes, you've been,
I love that word.
Enjoying this comedy this time around. Your first anime that you highlighted in this podcast, pretty serious mental health issues. You mentioned that it caused a lot of anxiety in a good way, in a tense but very very engaging way. But now you're bringing us more of a lighthearted comedy. Tell us a little bit about this anime that you've been watching.
The first thing is that I know strange is not a uncommon thing with going to anime, but I mean, let's face it. I've seen like every anime that's ever been created, and this anime.
That's what we say.
Yeah.
Sam's seen them all.
So what's the name of this anime?
It is called Amagi, Amagi, Brilliant Park. It's basically about this theme park in Japan that is like doesn't have any visitors, and they need like 250,000 visitors before the end of 3 months or they close. It's in pretty terrible shape. So this is the weird part. Most of the workers there are from another planet or another like
Or dimension?
Huh?
World, planet, or like a physical, like they're aliens, or like a dimension?
They're like it's a magical. I'm doing air quotes right
different
now. Realm. Thank you. That's a good word. And each of them has different magical abilities, and there's this one person who's a woman who the first shot of the entire episode is this woman, or I don't know how old she is, but they never really say. She holds out a flintlock to a guy and tries to get him to go out with her. And she says no, and then he shoots shoots a pistol or a ball right to the left of him. And he's like, okay, fine, let's do it. This anime, I mean, it's if you've seen weird animes in the past, like for example, Fumofu, if you've seen Azumanga Daioh, I think you'll enjoy this anime. Just be aware that it's the way it portrays itself is very unusual. Which when I first saw it, the first 2 episodes, I was like, wow, this is really unusual.
Why is it unusual?
So let's make it seem like we live in Japan. It's just hypothetical, because
Okay. I'm
Yeah.
in Japan now.
Yeah,
It's
you're in
great.
Japan.
Okay, we're living in
I could go
Japan.
outside.
Oh my God,
Um,
restaurants, everything.
place
This
is
is awesome.
Yeah. And let's say you are in high school, and a girl asks you out to a theme park with the flintlock, and then you go to this amusement park and find out that everyone that works there is like this magical being. There's like a magical screw or a magical guy that looks like a wrench. There's one that looks like a cash register. They even have like are you gonna say something, Daniel?
Yeah, I was gonna say, is this Spirited Away? Because it
Yeah,
sounds a
giving
little
me
bit
some
like Spirited
Away
Away.
vibes.
You're giving me a little bit of Spirited Away.
I've never seen Spirited Away, so I can't say if it
Have you
has.
seen-
Our anime expert has
Yes,
never
you
seen
haven't
Spirited
the
Away.
anime. You just said you've
How
seen
have
them
you
all.
never seen Spirited Away? All right, we need to watch Spirited Away together. All right, sorry, go on.
You're canceled, Sam.
Cancel culture. It tells a larger narrative, most definitely. The basic premise is that they have to get this number of visitors to the park, or else they close in 3 months. And I haven't finished the most important part. So the girl that asks out the main character, Isuzu Sento, basically is like tricked into, or not tricked, but he's like he's convinced to becoming the manager of the theme park. So he does a lot of stuff to try and save the park.
He does that to impress the girl?
No,
Oh.
he's afraid of the girl, I think, actually, but
Oh, okay.
He generally wants to save the
but
park.
I think what it's gonna turn out, and don't I mean, since I haven't seen the one anime that really counts, don't put all of my eggs in the basket. But
Don't put all of your eggs in Sam's basket.
Yes.
He doesn't like that.
Yeah.
Okay,
But I think it's gonna become where they're gonna be. It's a relationship, like a romantic relationship. Because that's just I've seen a lot
seen
of
enough animes in your life. To know.
except the main one, so.
Yeah, the main one.
So the Seizukade of animes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Well,
yeah, I think if you give it time, and try not to, don't expect anything out of this. Don't expect it's gonna be like the most funniest show that you've ever seen. It's funny, but it's not like, it's more of, I'm trying to think of the right word, but it's more like,
pleasant.
yeah, pleasant.
It's
That's a
it's
good
less
word.
like laugh out loud and more like you just have a smile pinned to your face the whole time,
Yes.
because it's like,
Yes.
makes you feel good.
Yes,
But then,
but in a weird way.
yeah, and then it's creepy because you're just sitting there smiling at your TV alone.
And did you watch this on any kind of streaming service, or did you just get it off the quote unquote internet?
Yes.
The internet. Okay.
Internet,
Yeah,
but I'm sure it's on Crunchyroll. Most anime is on Crunchyroll. So, but if you don't have it, do what I do.
Watch it on the internet. That's all.
Watch it on the internet.
All right. So what's the name of the anime? Just one last time.
It is called Amagi, Amagi, Brilliant Park. It took me a while to find this on the internet, so don't give up if you try one thing and it doesn't find it. Just keep trying, keep plugging away.
Just keep
Never give
going
up.
on all those legal streaming
Yes.
services. When we'll have it eventually. Yeah, I mean, I think we can all use a little bit of lightheartedness in our lives right now. So definitely sounds like something worth checking out. So thank you for sharing that, Sam. If you're going to continue watching it, we may come back to it and see what your final thoughts are on the
We'd also
season
love
or the show.
to hear your thoughts on Spirited Away whenever you get around to watching
Yeah.
it.
When we
Okay.
have time.
Maybe we can do a friendly reminder Spirited Away watch cast or something. Anyway.
A Miyazaki marathon.
Yeah.
Well, that does bring us to the end of our show. So once again, I want to thank you, Daniel and Sam, for joining me today. Another great discussion, another great week. And I also want to thank even our listeners today. Thank you so much for joining us, listening to us go back and forth regarding serious but also lighthearted issues. That is our show, the weekly friendly reminder, and we'll see you next week for yet another friendly reminder.